what leads to these financial issues as to why they can't afford? I guess it's usually divorce or loss of a job or somebody passing away. Is this what it is in most instances?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardships, probably like the number one would be loss of income.
Yeah,
And then the second would be divorce. Of course, now with COVID, most people, everything, you just blame everything on COVID now, right?
totally.
That's where we're at in 2021. You didn't get your furniture shipment, COVID. You didn't get this, COVID. It's so ridiculous.
It is.
But realistically, that's where we're at, and
Totally.
so you could literally just use that as a hardship until next year. They're accepting that as a hardship. Like
Yeah,
I had COVID.
That's probably the easiest process for anybody to do. I mean, like you said,
Yeah.
that's probably making things a little more streamlined, a little bit easier for you potentially, hopefully, knock wood.
Yes.
But the values are going up, so that can make it more difficult at the same time. But it's not necessarily about the values. People think short sale, well, they owe more than what the value is, or it's close to it here. It's basically they're going to take a net loss if they sell this property as is. If it's deteriorated, their income, they obviously can't afford it, so they got to sell one way or another. If they could sell it without doing a short sale, they would do it, more or less.
Absolutely.
That's what you run into.
Absolutely. And well, I was just going to say that to that point is that a lot of people, were like, hey, how is there short sales in this market? And what people don't understand is that it's based on the seller, not the house, right? So if their situation where they're doing loan modifications and they're behind, all of those fees and their balances are going up. And then you combine that with the properties are not being kept up and it is distressed, it's easy for them to be in an upside down situation.
Yeah, it doesn't take real long. That is for sure. And what percentage of the short sales you're doing where you're dealing with 2 or more mortgages on them?
Not a really high percentage. I feel like it was a lot more common 3 or 4 years ago. We still have, depending on the state, I see that a lot, depending on the state. Like California, we see a lot of people because the way they do deal with title is completely different. So we see a lot of judgments that we have to get cleared and negotiated. But as far as like second liens, really the only ones we see are like the 80-20 loans.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge percentage.
That's good. I do remember dealing with a couple. One was easier because it was, I'm going to date myself, it was countrywide, right? And they had the first and the second.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit easier. But then I had another one where it was, I think Wells Fargo was the second, and it might have been Chase or somebody like that in the first. So now you're negotiating with 2 different banks to try to take, obviously the first is going to say, well, go see what you can do in a second, see what you can get there, you can do there. Usually the second just takes a bath for the most part. Am I wrong? Is that still happening?
No, that absolutely is still happening. And you're right. It happened. It's actually more common for the second to be service released to a whole other lender than it is for them to stay with the same lender. If it's with the same lender, it's amazing because it's easy because they both have the loan. But like you said, if it's like a Chase Wells Fargo, it's super hard to negotiate, especially when you have like one of those collection companies, like you have like SBS and Auckland and the ones that bought it, pennies on a dollar, and now they're trying to get as much as they can for it. So in those situations, the second is always going to be the most difficult part of the process because they're the ones taking the biggest loss.
Totally. It got so frustrating to me. And like I said, I didn't do that many, but it got to a point where I would just outsource it. I didn't want to deal anything with it. I think there's a gentleman, his Tony Espinito or something out of Florida, who used to do quite a few way back in the late 2009, early 2010. But I think even he's out of the business too. I don't know, maybe he isn't, but it's such a different business. And to have somebody like you, if I ever run into a situation with somebody and I can help steer them to your direction, it's definitely something I'm going to do for sure. And hopefully we can help out because your job is you're helping people out. You're helping people out of bad situations.
We are. And the biggest thing too is that we're providing a solution that most people just don't have the ability to do, right? And because it is a lot of work, and most importantly, it's not just a lot of work, it's you have to know what you're doing, right? Because if you don't know the right questions to ask, it's like the blind leading the blind. Like you're waiting for the bank to tell you and the bank is waiting for you to send it. And it's just so frustrating going back and forth when you don't understand. And so especially for, an investor, first of all, a realtor has to be involved anyway. The bank's not going to allow the investor or the buyer to negotiate directly. So it makes absolute sense to partner up, to give away the negotiation so that we can help, take care of that homeowner.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. It's interesting to see how it's changed over the years here and how to continue to go. And as the market changes and we had a market downturn, short sales are going to become super relevant again, and you're going to have more business than you ever know what to do with. Probably over the next decade or so, if it does do that, right? If we do drop off at some point there, because the declining market. I mean, so many properties become short sales. So that could be a big boom for the future. And you're way ahead of the curve. You're going to be able to teach a lot of people.
Well, we already have so many people that we're in our education space. Like we have a boot camp that's coming up for investors and realtors. And there's so many things that we do to try to put information out there just because of what we said in the very beginning. There's nothing out there to help people with this niche. So we're really passionate and we are in the education space because of that. I wish it may take me 10 minutes to regurgitate something to you, but it costs me, $20,000 to learn and 5 years and, whatever. And so we try to make it as easy as possible and try to, give as much value as possible back to the community.
So tell the audience here how they can reach out to you and get to one of these boot camps or learn about where they are in your educational program. Is there a certain URL, phone number? What's the best way for them to reach you?
So they can go to our website directly. It's going to have, all of our products, between the boot camp or the book or anything that they're wanting to learn from. And it's thessqueen.com. And then it has also all of our contact information. If you guys want to reach out, we have people that will just call the office and just say, hey, tell me, just try to ask questions about what's going on. We try to, be available for people if you've got deals going on that you need help with, things like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. That's great. Because I think a lot of people can really learn a lot at this. I mean, it is such a different business to traditional real estate investing or as a realtor. Most realtors I know don't want to deal with them at all. They don't, because they know how difficult they are to get done. But if they have somebody that they can work hand in hand with and they can just represent the seller, I mean, it's easy, right? They don't have to worry about it. It's in your hands at that point and you're helping them, and whatever they can do to help you, I'm sure they do. But there's probably not a whole lot for a realtor to do anymore in this process compared to what they used to do, right?
Yeah, honestly, we're 100% referrals. So we've been 100% for the last 2-3 years, which has been a journey in itself, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the referrals we get are from realtors, which is huge because, obviously realtors, I'm in both worlds, right? The investing world and then as well as with the realtors. So that is a big deal, especially we're all by reputation. And at that point, that's why we have the system that we do have set up to where every Monday, if you refer something over to us, you're going to get an update. And that was such a huge deal to me because people work so hard to get the business, but they don't do anything to keep it.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that people know that we're on top of it and they're engaged and understand every step of the way. Even if they don't want to respond, they're just like, oh, okay, cool. Got the update this week. So that they know, that we're on top of it.
People love that. The communication, that's the biggest piece that probably people want. They want to know exactly where this is. If they haven't heard from you from 3 or 4 weeks, they might get worried. But if you're giving them these constant updates every week, I mean, that's gold to me. That's great. I would personally love that. It's so awesome that you're in both the regular realtor world and also in the investor world. You can make all those contacts there. It just opens things up and you have no marketing costs whatsoever. And people are bringing these, it's like the greatest business.